Hi, my name is Steed, and welcome to episode 7 of my video game Rescore series. In each video, I recreate some music from some video games I enjoy. Stray is next up, and as a person that loves cats, I'm surprised it took this long to do a game about a cat. Timestamps and chapters will be down in the description, so feel free to skip around. The music will be at the very end, and if you enjoy it, there's a link to the Soundcloud with all the tunes from this series. Otherwise, I'm going to take you step by step through my personal scoring process, starting at the very beginning with what inspired me from the game and the soundtrack. I hope this inspires you in your own creative work, whatever that may be. If it does, consider subscribing, and let's get to it. The original OST was composed by, and I apologize for my mispronunciation in advance, you can roast me in the comments, Yann van der Cruyssen, who also goes by Morusque on some of their work. Fun fact, that second name is also the name of the guitar-playing robot in the slums. In addition to Stray, this artist has done some other awesome stuff as well, so check out the links in the description to check some of that stuff out. Wandering, but not entirely lost. This summary for the soundtrack popped in my head after spending a couple of hours with Stray. I think it's perfect. You're a cat. Cats are curious beings. As such, much of the gameplay of Stray has you wandering around and exploring. This is reflected in the ambient side of the music. But it isn't too ambient. You still have purpose. There are missions and objectives, and they all support the overarching goal of getting out of here and returning home. This is where the focused side of the soundtrack shines. 1 minute you're listening and floating to a soft ambient pad, and the next you'll be nodding your head to some tight percussion and accompanying melody. It was almost as if the music was trying to say, hey, let's get to it. We still gotta get out of here. I also thought the instrumentation was appropriate for the game. The setting is a futuristic city with robots on every corner. It just makes sense to have synthesizers and drum machines littering the soundtrack. With these ideas in mind, it was time to get to work on the rescore. This is the first video in the series where the final track you'll hear was the result of a spontaneous jam on my synths as opposed to a more traditional approach to writing a track piece by piece. I started with some glitchy robotic percussive sounds on the Digitakt, and that's what you're hearing now before effects are added. Speaking of effects, you can see my chain at the top of the desk. The signal flow goes from right to left, starting with the chroma console, then the microcosm, and finally the Mercury X. Generally speaking, I'm using the chroma for grit and saturation, the microcosm for glitchiness, and the Mercury X for reverb. Now you're hearing the Digitakt sounds through the effects. Next, I got an arpeggio going on the Matriarch, and you're hearing it now pre-effects. Now here's the same thing running through the effects. The Digitakt and the Matriarch are the two focused parts of the track I alluded to earlier. They're both rhythmically related, and it keeps things moving. The final thing I added, however, is the ambient side of the track, a pad sound from my ASM Hydrasynth. It has poly aftertouch, which means you'll hear it dynamically respond to how hard I'm pressing the individual keys. I'm just rocking some chord shapes in E-flat minor here, and you're hearing this now. The final track is just these three elements put together. And that's pretty much it. Before I play the full track for you, I just wanted to say thanks again for checking out the video. Go play some video games, go play with some cats, go play some video games about cats. And if this inspired you to do any of that, let me know down in the comments. We'll see you in the next video.
You